Freedom from the Inner Critic, a talk with Unmani.
Freedom from the inner critic. And this theme I find a little bit paradoxical, or very paradoxical, because of course the freedom that we really are is always free, no matter what. So we can just take a moment to acknowledge that the freedom that we really are, we really am, I really am, is always free. That isn't disturbed by this inner critic or by anything. And that is the beauty, that is the freedom of who we really are. If we were really disturbed by anything, by this inner critic, then our true nature wouldn't be free. It would be dependent on an experience of being absolutely undisturbed all the time. But true freedom is not dependent on any particular experience. So true freedom is not dependent on the inner critic not being there. True freedom is anyway, no matter what. So that's the absolute. That's the bottom line. That is the container. That is the unconditional love and acceptance of whatever is here, without exception. So that's where I'm coming from when I speak. And if we start to speak more about this inner critic, which we will in a minute, know that it is all held in that freedom that is untouched by anything. And that's important to acknowledge first, because we're often under a misconception that when I am free from the inner critic or from anything that is uncomfortable, then I'll be free. But true freedom is already. So it's not about being free from. That's why I said that this title is a little bit paradoxical, because there's no need to be free from anything, because you're already free with everything, no matter what. Even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's messy, even if there are loads of thoughts that drive you crazy, even if you experience separation and it's painful, even if there's a longing to be free, even if you are totally absorbed by this inner critic, totally identifying with a separate me, that even is all held in this freedom. That you know, actually, even if you're identified with this small me that feels separate, there's a bigger knowing. Not the knowing of the mind, but there is a bigger knowing that always knows this. It's not necessarily experienced as a feeling of freedom, but it's a knowing. It's a knowing that is known in a different way from the thinking, when the thinking knows something, or even an experience It's different to an experience, although there may be an experience of recognizing it that can feel expansive, but that feeling or that experience will pass or it'll come and go. That's not the point. The recognition or the knowing is unexplainable, it's unspeakable. It's a resonating, we can't even put it into words. But it is a knowing that knows. And then this inner critic, I call it inner critic now, but in fact, it is simply a thought and another thought and another thought. And maybe it is some recurring thoughts or a pattern, old conditioning, identities that are being believed in, these small me's. And there can be many of these identities that come in to fill the space when they seem to be needed in times of threat or perceived threat, of course, when it doesn't feel safe, when there is a gap of some sort, when there's some discomfort, when there's not knowing how to be, who to be, what's going on, which direction to go. These thoughts or these identities come in to fill the space, to attempt to create some kind of safety, to survive that situation. They have a good intention. So, for example, with the critic, perhaps we've learnt from our parents, from society, from the culture that we grew up in, our teachers, school, our peers, our friends that we grew up with, we picked up that there's something wrong with me, right? These kind of critical thoughts that make me wrong or not good enough, something missing, something wrong. And these thoughts keep us very small, identified with this small me. I'm not good enough. And we operate from there when we believe that. We doubt ourselves. Any opportunity for aliveness or shining ourselves in any kind of situation, we might immediately doubt ourselves or hold ourselves back. Oh, I can't do that. I couldn't possibly do that because I'd be showing myself too much and I'd be open for some kind of criticism from the outside world or attack, or it wouldn't feel safe to do that for whatever reason. We explain it to ourselves. It's safer to stay small. And staying small feels painful. It feels flat, like we're stuck in a rigid container that we create for ourselves. Of course, no one puts us in that container. But when we believe in these thoughts that say, I'm not good enough for whatever reason, this is this container, this prison. And then we don't recognize the absolute freedom that we are. We stay believing I'm this small me and there's something wrong with me, so I can't move and express myself freely in the world, in life, because if I do, I'll be under threat in some way. I will be revealed as being not good enough or deeply flawed, fundamentally flawed or wrong or bad. And it can be very frightening to take the risk to expose that in the world. And so we rather stay safe, prefer not to risk that. I stay safe in this small me. And yet there is a push-pull with that, because although it feels safer to stay small, there's also a longing to express freely. That's why we're attracted to this title of freedom from the inner critic, because it feels like such a prison. And then we long to break free, right? We long to express ourselves freely, to sing our song, whatever that is. And we all individually, in this play of all these individuals, we all have our individual flower that we are. We all blossom uniquely, right? We all have our flavor that is so precious and uniquely this particular flavor, however you are, whether it's the way you look, whether it is what you do, what you feel, your skills, your talents, your qualities, your abilities, your energetic flavor, your feelings, even your thoughts. It's all part of this particular expression of life itself, expressing itself just like this. Life would be missing something if this human flavor was not here. Life is purposefully expressing itself just the way you are. So how dare you stay small? Right? How dare you limit life? Who do you think you are that you could limit life and say, yeah, but I'm just, I'm not good enough? How could you believe that when life is expressing itself just the way you are? And we feel that we long to just express in whatever way that is. And we might do it for a while. And then those thoughts come back in like, oh, no, 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 it's not safe again. But every time you notice that happening, of course, that's part of the expression. But when you notice that happening, feel how that feels in the body. Like, oh, again, I'm back in my prison. Feel the pain of that. Feel the longing to express and come back to that again. And it's natural that there'll be kind of closings and openings. This is also the nature of life. Sometimes we withdraw into our stories, into our whatever. We just close up a bit. We go in, we withdraw, we want to curl up in a ball and stay safe. And then other times we're like, okay, I'm ready to express and show myself and share and expose. And then again, it comes back to, okay, now it's time to withdraw. And so these waves of opening ourselves and then closing ourselves, they don't mean anything. Right? It's just part of the waves of life. And part of that withdrawing might be that inner critic saying, oh no, now it's time to withdraw, but it adds these extra thoughts. Oh, it must be that there's something wrong with me. But there's nothing wrong with you. It's just time to withdraw. And then when you're ready to go out again, to take the risk, to expose yourself again. And it takes courage to keep coming out and showing yourself. And who are you showing yourself to anyway, right? Who's out there? No one. It's only you. You show yourself to yourself, right? You dance your dance for yourself, to yourself. You're watching yourself express yourself freely. And those thoughts that want to keep yourself small and limited and contained in this small me, they are just thoughts referring to a me. But anytime you really question that me, you will find that there's no one here, that it's just an old program. So as soon as you realize that it's just an old program, feel in the body. How does that feel? And then take a deep breath and take the risk to step out of that in whatever way that is for you, right? Even if it's just in terms of not believing it. Doesn't always have to be that you do something in the world, but step out of the belief. And then in that moment, you're free. And then in the next moment, if the thought comes back again, okay, you have to step out again. And it might be that you have to keep stepping out of that for the rest of your life, because these programs have been programmed in for years. So it may well take the rest of your life to keep stepping out of them. But that's okay. Keep stepping out. This is what life is all about. Keep choosing freedom in every moment. Because freedom is who you are, right? So in this human expression, we love to live freely, even though we are already free, so we don't even need to live freely, right? Because if you're already free, you don't need to be free or become free. But at the same time, there is a love of dancing your dance, singing your song, doing whatever you do, expressing yourself, being yourself, feeling yourself freely. And so we have to keep choosing freedom, actually. We have to keep stepping into it, keep taking the risk to step out of beliefs that seem to limit us. Keep meeting what is actually here rather than what we think is here. Keep meeting the sensations, the feelings, what is really going on in the body. Keep listening to our direct experience. Keep feeling the pain of keeping ourselves small, of believing this inner critic. And as soon as we meet the sensations and the feelings of that pain, we're already not believing those thoughts. We're already free.